Welcome to go.do. This is the third installment of our faith series, and today I want to talk about something personal, my dad. When I was like 8, 9, or 10 years old, I built this really junky looking fort in front of our house. I took limbs and branches and leaves and I leaned them up against the front of the house, and my dad came out because I was all excited to show him, and I showed him the fort that I had built. I thought it was amazing. I was all proud of it, and he just looked at it and went,
"You gotta take that down."
And he felt sorry for me because I put some hard work into it, but it was junky and it looked bad, and it was in the front of the house and it was an eyesore for the neighborhood. It's not something that you'd want people to know you for in your neighborhood. So in that moment, he told me no, but his no wasn't forever. In fact, he told me yes in another way. He said, "I will help you build another fort." I was like, yes, let's do it. Let's do it right now. And he said, "No, I'm busy. I gotta work." He had a home office. He had a construction business. He was a general contractor, and he was busy. So I didn't know when this was gonna happen, but I asked him every day.
Can we build a fort? Can we build a fort? Can we build a fort?
And weeks went by. In fact, I think months may have gone by. And I was getting defeated, and I felt like he was never gonna come through on that promise that he made to me. I almost lost hope. I needed someone who had their own relationship with my dad, who could contend for me, who could intercede on my behalf, who could ask him to come through. I needed someone special. I needed my mom. My mom saw my defeated look in my face, and she saw that I was continually asking him and trying to get him to fulfill the promise that he made to me. And she saw that, and she saw that I was getting defeated. She saw that I was losing faith, and she went into his office. And you know what she did? She marched herself into his office one day, and she said,
"You made a promise, and you need to keep it."
That day, the plans were born for my fort. He said, "Let's do it this Saturday." So Saturday came, and early on Saturday morning he got me up and said, "Let's go. We got to get the materials." We went and got wood and shingles and siding and electrical boxes and nails and screws and hinges. And I didn't know what all this was for because I thought we were just going to build a simple fort. He had something much better and bigger in mind, something more complete. And by the time it was finished, it was just about 100 square feet. It had bunk beds. It had a trap door that you climbed up underneath to get to because it was on stilts. It had windows. It had electricity. It was basically a tiny house by today's standards. My fort was awesome. It wasn't awesome because I built it. It was awesome because he built it. But it was all sparked from that tiny, junky fort idea. And when I brought that before my father and said, "Hey, look what I've done," and he said, "No, that's not quite it, but you're onto something." But you see, if I hadn't created that junky little fort, and if my dad hadn't made me take it down, and if he hadn't promised me that he would help me make a new one, and if I hadn't persisted in asking him, and if my mom hadn't interceded on my behalf, and if my dad wasn't a man of his word, I'd be stuck with that little junky fort. What you need to understand is that your early understandings of God are largely influenced by the behavior of your earthly father. So if you had an absent father, you may feel like God is absent. If you had a horrible father, you may feel like God is cruel. If you had a father that was a workaholic, you may feel like you couldn't bother God. See, it's largely influenced by your earthly father. Now, it could be influenced by your mom as well, but for whatever reason, dads typically have a bigger influence on our perception of God's character. No matter how good or how bad your dad was, though, at some point, every father fails. And if you have a father wound inside of you that is holding you back from truly trusting God, I want to challenge you to let that go and to forgive, because that is not a reflection of your Heavenly Father. That's just a reflection of human nature. Now, I'm grateful my dad showed me that God can be trusted by fulfilling the promise he made to me. But you may not be feeling that way, and you may have not had that experience. But I want to encourage you, God can be trusted. He will do what he says he will do, but it's going to be on his timeline, and it's going to be with his blueprint. He may be saying no to your junky little fort right now, but he has something far better in mind. So don't lose hope. Be patient. Keep asking. Get someone else to intercede on your behalf in prayer. And believe this promise. The Apostle Paul writes in Romans 8:28. "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." God bless. We'll see you next time.
I'm gonna get your daddy. Can I get him? Let me get him. Let me get him. Here he comes. Oh! Oh!